Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Super Subs Podcast. Your host, Harish and Narvin. Um, Today, the agenda will be Champions League playoffs. We'll dig into game of the week, which was Madrid versus City. Maybe the game of the tournament so far, and then we'll also cover some of the FA Cup games that have happened. Huge upset. Liverpool losing over the weekend. Um, Shocking result. Uh, and then what else do we have to talk about? Yeah, I think that's probably the
Like,
main.
yeah, FA
Uh,
Cup and then the big City Madrid game.
yep. And yeah, Liverpool shocking result against Plymouth, lost 1-0. So they're out of the FA Cup and no more quadruple hopes. But still, three other trophies they can go for.
Yeah, I think as long as they get the Premier League secured for sure, definitely
Yeah,
can't let that one slip off.
although I do want to see the Carabao Cup, I do want to see Newcastle win it. I think that would be really hype.
Nah, I don't really like Newcastle either.
Hater, bruh.
It's gonna be a hate watch either way because I'm not a fan of Liverpool.
But yeah, let's start with, per usual, you know the routine. We'll do our super sub of the week, Champions League game or FA Cup games, or even across other leagues.
Um, I'll say my super sub is just because he saved the team from complete embarrassment. Um, was Kevin De Bruyne. Not necessarily his performance, but it was literally they were playing Leighton Orient, who I believe is a League One team, and they were losing first half, but they got a lucky equalizer, and then De Bruyne ultimately with the game winner. So I'm just gonna go with him, because I think if City took a defeat, or even if it went to overtime, it'd be kind of embarrassing. So he kind of saved them from embarrassment.
It's insane they had to bring him on.
Yeah, him, Foden, they were taking desperate measures. It was also funny to listen to Pep after the game.
Oh, what did he say?
They're like, "So, what do you think about the game?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, give Leighton Orient a lot of credit." He's like, "This is the FA Cup. We know it's going to be tough matchups, and we knew they'd bring a tough game to us."
Yeah, that is funny. When he talks about like these little teams like that, but I feel like that's part of a lot of people like complain about, there's not enough breaks for players and stuff, and we should get rid of some of these tournaments like the FA Cup, like maybe make it smaller, but like it's fun to see like small teams like this like potentially pulling an upset.
And it was pretty fun seeing Leighton Orient being like the host home team, like
Oh
their
yeah.
atmosphere. They
Even
got
like
like crazy goal too, like from the halfway line.
oh yeah. Um but like even what was that team that played Spurs?
Oh, Tamworth.
Tamworth. Like there was no tunnel or anything. Like players had to literally walk through the crowd and just that environment was so fun to watch and like even them almost pulling an upset against a Premier League
Mhm.
team.
Yeah, I know this wasn't one of the games we're gonna touch on, but just since I mentioned him as my super sub, and this game also sucks for City. Like literally got their Rodri replacement, and he got injured right away, or not right away, but yeah, 20 minutes into the
Yeah.
game.
20 minutes,
So
yeah. I wonder how serious that injury is.
yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, my super sub of this week, I'm going back to League 1. I've been watching your boys Marseille. They're a very fun team on attack to watch. Even defensively, they're pretty good. Um, Their one center back who captains them.
Velarde.
Balerdi, yeah, the Argentinian dude, he's solid. But yeah, Marseille's been impressive. I've watched them now two or three times, but the main reason I wanted to watch them was it was Benacir's debut for Marseille, and dude, that man is just class, like world class midfielder, um, dictating that game, and already it seemed like he's been playing with all these teammates for a couple of seasons now. But my super sub is Neil Mope. Uh, he came on uh, around like the 60th minute, I think, and he just added another dynamic. Um, their forward at that time was Amine Guri, and he kind of pushed out wide, but he was kind of struggling to hold up play and just he doesn't have the same pace as Mope, so he wasn't making some of those runs behind. Um, and he like the back line of the other team. How do you pronounce them?
Angers.
Angers, yeah, Angers. They were just pretty much defending it pretty easily, with very little movement to track. So Mope came on, kind of changed the dynamic, and then 10 minutes later they scored, and then he ended up getting ultimately the goal that kind of sealed the game.
It's a good shout.
Um, but yeah, let's move on to kind of the best game I think of the Champions League so far, in my opinion, is Man City Real Madrid. This was a playoff game, so it's a two-legged game. Whoever has the most goals across two games moves on. So this was at the Etihad, um, and then the following fixture will be at the Bernabeu. So Real Madrid ended up winning this game 3-2, and we're here. We're talking about the playoffs.
Did you
Playoffs.
you see the pre-match though, like when they do the anthem, how like they had the tifo of Rodri holding the Ballon d'Or trophy and the message on the tifo it said, "Keep crying your heart out." Basically, message to Vinny. And
Yeah, that was pretty savage.
Vinny
But
caught a glimpse of it and he just like was nodding his like, okay.
yeah, Vinny, I think he said after the game, but basically how like when he saw those, like he was like it just pushed him to a different level, like motivated him, and you could definitely see it in the game.
Yeah, because I feel like Champions League type matches, like you're already motivated just because of the grand scheme of the match, and then seeing that just adds even more like fire to your belly.
Oh
Like
yeah.
one of those Michael Jordans where he's like, and I took that personally.
Yeah, I wish like so Brahim Diaz scored that second goal. I wish he celebrated. He kind of like just put his hands up and he's like, I'm
Yeah,
not celebrating against my ex team or whatever. But I'm like, bro, like
you're kind of
you
like a academy almost. Yeah.
yeah, you were just an academy player first off, and he wasn't even there for much for that
Mhm.
long. Second of all, you play for Real Madrid. And then thirdly, like he- when Bellingham ended up scoring the winner, he was like the one leading the celebration. I was like,
Yeah,
bro, this is
exactly.
so you're goofy, bro.
He could have actually been a super sub too. The impact he made when he came on.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure. I didn't give it to him for that goofy behavior though. But no, seriously, he did look really good. But um, I think one of my talking points we can touch on is Ederson. I've been seeing him get a lot of lick for his mistake, but what did you think of his performance?
uh, I thought he had a few questionable moments, like the on that third goal. I feel like coming off like I don't know, like Vinny um can't really match his pace and like came out a little slow. Second goal, that's very unlike him.
Hmm.
Poor distribution. I don't know. I still think he's City's number one, like best keeper. It's just one of those games. It was just a poor game.
I have to go on the flip side. I thought he had a really good game and really kept City in it. He made five. four saves within kind of point blank range, and then two essentially kind of outside the box type saves. And he had a couple that like got called for goal, like Valverde had a strike outside the box, and he kind of tipped it over the crossbar, but the refs didn't see it. Like he had a lot of good saves
I think it's just when
against
it's
the
like
team.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just for goalkeepers when it's like mistakes that are like out there. It's just
Hmm. Especially that sec,
overshadows the whole thing.
yeah, especially that second goal where he just poor mistake, like basically cost him the goal. But like I feel like people were bashing him, but like he kept City in the game throughout,
Yeah, fair point. He did have a lot of good saves. It's just,
especially one-on-one saves too.
yeah, it's just the one bad mistake that overshadows all that, and then the one questionable as well. Um, but I don't think he's the one to really blame him for the loss.
Mm-mm.
Because to your point, this scoreline could have been a lot worse. I think Real Madrid could have easily had like five, maybe.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like at a point that because Real Madrid went down 1-0 and then, they got a equalizer in the second half and then
Amazing volley.
and then they went down after a penalty that Foden got. Um, di-
Sus.
yeah, it was sus, but I could see why it was given. But like,
I don't think it was even in the box.
yeah, it looked right on the edge. But I mean, anyways, like, did you ever feel like City were actually gonna win the game?
No.
Because okay, the whole time I felt like Madrid's gonna win this, no doubt.
Yeah. Champions League Real Madrid. Yeah. I had no doubt.
And
Well, actually, when it was getting late, I didn't think Real Madrid were gonna lose. I thought they'd pull out a draw at best, but they definitely got the deserved win.
yeah, because to your point, I feel like Madrid, it was just a matter of time. Like even at the end of the first half, like City were begging for like that halftime whistle, because Madrid was just on their butts.
And it's crazy because like Real Madrid, they lost like their makeshift right back in Vasquez and put the utility man Valverde at right back. So I mean Valverde can do a great job there, but he's really best when he's more advanced anyways. And then having Chouameni who's done the job at center back, but two players who aren't naturally defenders, and City like still couldn't really get the best out of them.
Yeah, what did you think of Asensio and Tchouaméni's performance?
I thought it was pretty solid. Chouameni, I think when Militao went down last year, he did a good job filling that role in. But I mean, that's not his position, but he's still pretty good. And then Asensio, he's pretty class
Class, wow.
for his age. Honestly,
Yeah,
from
for
like the
his
games I've
age.
seen him play for his age, um, I know Kubarsi for Barca like got shouts real quick, whereas I don't really see Asensio getting as much flowers when I feel like if Kubarsi
Yeah.
got those flowers, I feel like Asensio should as well.
Yeah, I think Asensio is yeah, to your point, class for his age for sure, but like uh I definitely think he's gonna be like a world-class defender um in a few years. I don't know what it is about the way he defends, but also like just the his personality and stuff like gives me vibes of Sergio Ramos.
He
And
gives
like
me vibes of his partner Varane at times.
Veron,
He seemed like a more poised, like composed.
yeah, but I think like the aggression part and like the
Yeah.
because Veron was always kind of like in his shell, quieter type player, whereas Ramos was like he's willing to fight and die for the team, and like that's the side that I see with Asensio. And
Mhm.
like there was that one moment where like Haaland was like grabbing him and like trying to punk him, but like Asensio was like not
Yeah.
taking it.
Um, yeah, fair point. Uh, and then another player that's like surprise. I don't know if it's surprising is the right word, but like he kind of sunk it up in the Premier League when everyone was really excited was Danny Ceballos, but like he's kind of different gravy at Real Madrid. Granted, he is surrounded by like better players here, but
Hmm.
um, that assist to Mbappe was nice.
Yeah, that was cheeky. The finish was a little lucky, but still, that was a nice
Super
assist.
lucky, yeah,
Yeah. Um, and then who was your most disappointing player in this game
in this game.
by either side?
Uh, I'd have to say Bernardo Silva.
Hmm.
He's it's just age at this point. Um, he had no influence whatsoever. Uh, I think City like Holland was pretty decent, but Vardiol again, he had a pretty good game. Um, but the rest of them like they really struggled.
I will say Vardy, though, in d defense, um, I think he was definitely the better defender out of the four, or even like when Rico Lewis and them came, but like he was one of their better defenders. But I still think he got a little lucky this game. Rodrigo was cooking, and he had almost an assist to Mendy, and he kind of got past Vardy pretty easily. And like Mendy's a defender, so he can't finish. But like there was another one where he got past Vardy super easily and crossed it in, and Mbappe
Yeah.
just shot it and just hit Ederson. But like I thought Vardy got pretty lucky. Because if the finishes went slightly a different way, like we could have been having a different conversation.
Yeah, that's true. Rodri was giving him a field day. He's been stepping up a lot for Real Madrid too. I feel like there were a lot of doubters, especially when he came out and said like, "Don't forget the R." Like, a
Yeah.
lot of people were scrutinizing him, like, "All right, let's see what you're really made of." But he's really
Ex-
stepped up, out of position too, playing
yeah,
on the right
especially on the
side.
right. But I think Bernardo Silva's a good shot, but I think John Stones was poor, especially in that second half.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still trying to get back into full fitness or whatnot, but
Yeah,
he had to be fully fit if he played the full 90. But
he was my most disappointing player because that backline's been so unstable. So it's like, all right, dude, here's your time to shine. But like, he did not take the game, and he just has not looked good this year.
yeah, and it was so weird because like he's the one that kind of started this whole inverted role for
Hmm.
Pep. Uh, but I don't know. Do you think this game is a little bit on Pep also in terms of like getting his setup wrong? Because I think like in La Liga we've seen like Real Madrid come up against weaker oppositions who have given them trouble. So like I don't know, City kind of fielding out five defenders out there is, I mean, Stone's going into that midfield, but essentially five defenders. You think that was the right setup?
Yeah, because I don't know like who else they could have brought on, and like I feel like City just went with their strongest attacking options, and then because they needed someone like holding, I feel like they could have just gone with maybe Kovacic instead. But like even Kovacic or Stones, like they needed someone to play that holding midfielder role. Um, Ultimately, it was Stone, but like I don't know. I don't think it was necessarily that he was set up poor. I just think Madrid are just too good in terms of like the players they have.
Hmm.
Um,
I think this game was like one of those where we've seen City like just because of their age profile, like and lackluster in the midfield, like not having the legs anymore, really, like getting torn apart versus teams that are quite quick on the counter. In Real Madrid, they're kind of exactly that team who are really fast paced, especially those Bellingham, Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Mbappe. Like,
mhm. Yeah, I will say like what I blame Pep on maybe is not making changes sooner, especially when he saw things weren't working on attack. Um, and like when he did make the changes, it was the same type of profile players. Like when Grealish got hurt, he brought on Foden and Foden, Silva, and Savinho. They all kind of have a similar style. Um, Even Gundogan, but like he was brought on late and like he brought on Marmoush, but it was like with what 5 minutes left.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know. I feel like Jeremy Doku could have been a player that really changes the game, especially with against Mendy and Valverde who love to get forward. And Doku's like a very direct player, pacey, and just could have added something else to the team.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, especially when, yeah, like when Grealish got hurt. Um,
And Grealish was having a really good game.
yeah, he started off good. Especially like that pre-assist to Vardiel. That was a nice pick out.
Hmm.
I'll say De Bruyne was also a bit disappointing. Um, and that again, that just comes down to aging, injury hindrance now playing a factor as well. Like he did not, I don't know. I don't know if he can last another season, at like a Premier League level.
Hmm. He's been disappointing this year as well. Um, I feel like they definitely need someone more creative in that midfield. You're relying on some mid 30-year-olds in De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva and Gundogan. I feel like you need someone else to kind of star. Like even just look at Madrid. You have Modric, who's class, like above them, but like he's coming off the bench, a lot
Hmm.
of times, and then he'll rotate into games. And I feel like that's kind of the level that De Bruyne and them are at now.
Yeah.
But it's just, I guess, depth too. That City just don't have someone better that can start game in and game out,
Hmm.
unlike Madrid.
Yeah, and I think this loss is super tough for Man City just because um I think even if they held on to a draw they could have had hope, but playing at the Bernabeu is just a different test.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they're screwed on uh with their right back situation because we all know Mateus Nunes like how his defending is. Um, but like even Rico Lewis is not a great defender, and we saw that when he came on. He was so soft in that last goal, trying to go in for a tackle with Vinicius.
Kovacic gave him a little trouble, unlike Kovacic, but
Yeah, but like as a defender, you got to go in fully committed. You can't just dangle a leg there.
even if you draw a foul, like,
Yeah, and if you know you can't get it, then just foul
mhm.
at that point.
Yeah, and yeah, City. Oh wow, so the reverse fixture is already next week. Okay.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and they can't really afford to rest anyone this weekend because they have a tough matchup against Newcastle. Um, yeah, so City, I don't know, like just their fixture list is crazy too. So they lost to Arsenal. Um, was their last? Oh, that was the FA Cup, sorry, where they got demolished. But this weekend they got Newcastle. Then they play Real Madrid again midweek. Then they got Liverpool following weekend. Then
Mm.
they got Tottenham. Then they got Plymouth in the FA Cup. Then they got Forest and then Brighton.
Yeah, that's a tough run there. But yeah, I'm very worried for them in the reverse fixture. I think
It could get out of hand,
it can get
honestly.
really ugly quick. But shall we move on from that game?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we can move on to some of the FA, or let's talk about some of the other Champions League games. So PSG beat Brest. There's a French battle there.
I feel
Uh,
bad for Brest though,
they
because
won 3-0. Yep.
they're a home team, but like technically they don't get to play in their stadium, because it doesn't meet like the UEFA regulations.
Mm,
So they have to play a game that's like 70 miles away from their stadium.
yeah. And it's unfortunate that they kind of got paired up with PSG. Because that was my kind of sleeper team to win it all, and they're on fire. And especially like seeing Vicha play.
Hmm.
Oh, I guess he came off the bench, but in the league, he's been cooking.
Yeah.
Fits right in. So they have a nice rotation going on attack, and then man, Dembele, what a form he's been on.
Yeah, he scored in 8 of his last appearances, so that ties like Neymar, Mbappe, and I forget who else, but like he's up there.
Yeah, that's insane. And then Juve ended up beating PSV, Weston McKennie with a banger, and then Dortmund got a pretty easy dub against Sporting. It was pretty one-sided, especially in that second half.
I don't know why Jokic doesn't start. It's-
Yeah, ever since Ruben Amorim left, that Conrad guy has been kind of the starting player. I'm not sure. And then today, Club Brugge pulled an upset against Atalanta. I haven't seen that game. I'm gonna watch it later tonight, but they won 2-1. Benfica, that man is back. Got the dub 1-0. Palveiras got the only goal of the game. So they got the dub. And then Milan lost to Feyenoord 1-0. I I haven't seen any of these games today. But that's one I'm interested to go back and watching as well.
I caught a
Especially
little bit of that game.
Mhm.
When you go back to watch that game, just this player will stand out to you for Feyenoord, but look out for that Igor Paxao.
Pac-
Dude. He was
Yeah, I'm
going
a fan of
crazy.
his play. Um, I was hoping for a high scoring game in this one, um, because just like the way they've been playing, and Milan's been somewhat leaky in the back, but then with the signing of like João Felix and the attacking power that they have, I thought this was going to be a shootout type of game, like a 2-2, 3-2 game, but 1-0 is
It's
interesting.
crazy too because Milan they got Santiago Jimenez transferred in, and he was a
Oh yeah,
former
new signing.
Feyenoord. It's funny though because he had an absolute stinker.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, fans were cheering. I don't know if it was because of his return or because he dropped a stinker versus them.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, and it was cool to see him and João Felix in the Serie A link up to get
Mhm.
a goal in their debut. And then Bayern, they beat Celtic today 2-1. Goals by Harry Kane and Michael Olise. But yeah, let's move on to the FA Cup games. We can start with your boys United. They played Leicester, ended up getting the dub pretty late on. But I'll let you kind of talk about maybe what stood out to you the most.
Um, yeah, this game was. I took work off in the afternoon. I did a half day that day to catch this game because it was on a Friday, and boy, that was a waste of a PTO. Um, like snooze fest. I'm not even lying to you when I said I had a, I think I went through like 2.5 cups of coffee, just to like stay awake for this game because that's literally how boring it was. Like obviously Leicester, a weak team, didn't really have much going. Us as well, we weren't playing that well. It was pretty neat to see Patrick Dorgu get the start, even though he was eased into it a bit, so he got taken off at half. And it's also interesting he played at the right wing back spot. I guess Amarin kind of likes that inverted player there. I'm sure he'll switch to the left wing back, but again, Hoyland stinker.
Dude, his touch is so bad.
I
It
don't
just
know
kind of
what it
like
is.
it's kind of like a trampoline, you know, like those little drills you do and you throw the ball against the
Oh, and
trampoline
it
and
bounces right back.
yeah, that's what it's like playing with that man.
Yeah, I don't. And that's like one of the most basic parts of your game is like getting your touch right. Um, he had a stinker. Kavi Manu was a little slow that game.
I don't like him in that advanced role.
I like him there, but that was just one of his poor games in that role. Um, I think Bruno, as always, good game. For Leicester,
Oh, real quick, you know who I almost had on my short list for super sub? I thought the game changer for this one was Garnacho coming on.
yes, yeah,
I thought he absolutely changed the dynamic for you guys.
yeah, he was cooking James Justin out there.
Oh yeah, and that's something like like he's a completely different player from Mainu, and Amarindin did well to recognize he needs to do something different, n- recognize the struggling player, and brought on Garnacho, and he completely changed the game. But like that's not something Pep has been doing this year. He brings on like a exact same profile player.
Yeah, and I like how Amarin made like changes early, whereas Pep kind of like bringing in De Bruyne. De Bruyne needs more than 20 minutes to like get the feel of the game.
Hmm.
But I will say Leicester, uh, that Bobby Reed, he hasn't really been getting as much playing time for Leicester in the Premier League, but he look he was looking pretty good for him. I think he was their best player on the attack, along with El Canus. Um, but again, the game was so boring. It
That
was
El Canus guy is pretty nice. I haven't really
yeah.
watched him much before. Uh, like this is I think the first time I've really watched him
Hmm.
since he's joined Leicester. But
And he
he's
looks
been in a
better at yeah, he looks better in that 10 role.
oh yeah, he's definitely a Premier League level player.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd say so. Um, and we got the Harry Maguire got the goal in stoppage time, but it was funny because there's no VAR in FA Cups, so he was definitely a good like 3, 4 yards offsides, but I think the linesman said allow it. This game is trash. I can't watch like another 30 minutes. So
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing that really stuck out to me, similar points as you, is just it's quite boring, nothing happening. I was kind of worried for y'all. Thought we'd get kicked out or knocked out just because no chances were created. But once Garnacho came on, I was thinking, man, the only way you guys are gonna score is looks like through him.
hmm.
Uh, and ultimately, like even that free kick that you guys scored off, was it him that got fouled?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought both goals were can be attributed to him creating the chances.
Yeah.
But let's move on from that snooze fest and go on to the following day, Chelsea Brighton in the FA Cup. We lost to Brighton 2-1 at the Amex. Um, we scored in the first 5 minutes. It was super lucky, just poor goalkeeping. Um,
I like Verbruggen, so it's tough to see him make that type of mistake.
yeah, he's made a couple errors this year, in recent weeks, but he's definitely going to be like the number one with uh, Steele. I don't know how much longer he's out, but yeah, they're going to have to ride with him for a while. But my points that stood out to me were we were trash. Like all our players were pretty poor. Um, Two players that completely annoy me and make my blood so hot is Jadon Sancho and Christopher Nkunku. I want those guys gone. I don't know what it is. Like we have this style where we want to like play on the front foot and play fast at time. Like there's times when we want to play fast and stuff, and we have the profiles to do it, but like those guys just slow down the game. And Jadon Sancho, especially, like, dude, you're like his skills obviously are super good, but like he just doesn't take on players. Like he doesn't have that same mentality as Madueke. Madueke, yeah, he's got skills, but definitely not like Sancho. Sancho's probably the most skilled guy on our team, but like his decision making is poor. He just slows down the game. Um, so I don't know. Enzo just needs to get on him a little more. Um, but Enzo just lets him play for 75 plus minutes, and you don't really see him communicating off the bench to him. So those two players pissed me off on Sunday. I was raging. And then for Brighton, I thought some of the key players there, I thought Ruter was their best player. Um, him and Menta, they were just creating chance after chance. Ruter's he's surprisingly super good carrying the ball. And he's a pretty big player too. Um, but he's slowly been impressing more and more that I've watched him. Um, and I think he could make a bigger move. Like this kid is 22, um, but I think he's got some pretty good potential. Um,
Yeah, at Leeds, he was really like at Leeds he was good. You could see the skill set and stuff there, but I know a lot of like um the criticism on him was his final product was quite bad. Like he'd always
mhm.
like his dribbling and skill moves were great. But it's always that final product he just never really had, which a lot of people thought it was a gamble for Brighton to spend big on someone that's not complete on that side of the game.
Yeah, but I like what Brighton's done with him. Uh, so I think that's credit to kind of their coach, and Fabian Herzler is like putting him as more of a midfielder, attacking mid. I don't know if that was his original position, but like at Leeds, we saw a lot of him playing right up front, like as a forward or even a right mid. But like I think he excels best at like the number 10 role.
Yeah, I like him at that role.
So he's thrived there this year, and he's been impressive. And then coming into the game, I was I thought we would win. Big reason is Baliba has been hurt for a couple weeks, and he, I didn't think he was going to be 100. He wasn't playing 100%, and he lasted, I think, 60 minutes or so. But man, he was unbelievable again. He dominated our midfield.
Yeah, he can take over that midfield on his own. Because I think that beatdown versus Forest was an indicator of how much they missed Baliba.
Hmm. But shall we move on to the last game? Or did you have any thoughts on this one? Additional thoughts?
Uh, no, I think this game, yeah, just to highlight your point again on Baliba, just showed the importance of how crucial he is to the team. Because Hinchelwood can't really run that role on his own.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
Thought that versus Forest, so
yeah.
Baliba.
Yeah, I think Fabian Herzler is that was like his one experiment. Like Hinchell would have meant to in the middle, but like, dude, you need an actual another pairing in that midfield with Hinchelwood.
Yeah, they were cooked.
Yeah, that was some FIFA type stuff, like just putting one midfielder. Like,
Yeah, I don't
dude,
know what he
there's
was thinking.
no. But yeah, let's move on to the last one. FA Cup game. It was Villa versus Spurs, and
This was the last of the trophies for Ange.
um,
Or sorry, they're in Europa League. I
yeah,
forgot.
they're in Europa League, but I'd be very impressed if they win that. But Spurs coming off a spanking against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. Uh, what was it, like 4-0 or something. And so this was a big one they had to redeem. And Ange has always said, in my second year, I win trophies. But now they're knocked out after losing 2-1 against Villa. Uh, I guess let's each talk about two of our main takeaways from this one.
Two main takeaways. Um, First takeaway is I think Villa need to hope that Ollie Watkins' injury isn't that serious. Um, because I think that was the only one position that was a bit lackluster for him was that striker position. Um, Mullen didn't do
Oh,
too bad, but I think like just there's a bit of a drop off, and I think Watkins he needs to be on that starting 11.
wow. That was one of my points that stuck out was Mullen was actually really good. I think where he struggled is his final product,
Hmm.
but I thought his link up play and the chance creation was really good.
Yeah, I thought link-up play was pretty good, but I feel like when he got to the final third, at times
Yeah.
he looked a bit lost. He didn't but that's because he's out of position, doesn't have the striker instinct.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'll say another takeaway, Tottenham, they need to thank Kingsley from embarrassment because yeah, Kingsley had a crazy error, maybe a minute into the game, but he was making some crazy saves.
Oh yeah.
Because this game should have been out of hand really quick.
Yeah, more than offset his mistake, number of saves he made.
Yeah. Um, and then again, I was really confused on why Villa didn't, in the transfer market, didn't go after a center back, even if it was for a loan. Because now they lost Konsa, and they're going to be stuck playing two midfields at center back, um, which might come back to haunt them.
But isn't Bogarde a center back?
He's a,
Brogard?
I
He's a
thought he
center
was like
back.
a, okay, I always thought he's like a defensive mid by trade.
No, he's a center back, but Unai's want Unai wants him to kind of be like a center or defensive mid.
Gotcha. Okay.
He's kind of like a David Luiz when when he came out of Bristol Rovers. Well, he
Okay.
was like, and he grew up as like a center back for Villa too, like in their youth.
Okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, to your point, that is a good point. Like, how many injuries they have? Mings is out, Pau Torres is out. Um,
Carlos was sold.
That's right. Okay, that's who I forgot. WWE Superstore. But someone for Tottenham that's kind of disappointed me this year is someone who's been linked to Real Madrid. Pedro Porro. Um, I don't know, going forward, because Real Madrid, like, there's been a lot of rumors about it's either him or Trent, right, to Real,
Hmm.
because they're in desperate need of a right back. But going forward, he's good, but like, I feel like Trent's better quality, and like Porro, his decision making on attack sometimes is questionable. But like, I don't know, defending wise, I feel like he's maybe not as bad as Trent, but like he's pretty poor. He gets caught out in
No pun
position.
intended. Or
Like he gets caught out, but I mean because he goes on attack a lot. But like even Jacob Ramsey was having like a field day against him, running riot. And like, dude, this is just Jacob Ramsey. Just wait till you meet some other world class players.
yeah, I don't know. I like Poro, but he kind of had a stinker this game.
Yeah, but
Especially
I don't.
like that first goal. He wasn't even in the picture. I was like, dude, where are you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just this game though. Like I feel like it's been like this for a few games now. Uh, but again, it's also like he's also playing with just a random group of other. defenders, like
Hmm.
Archie Gray, and so like he hasn't had a consistent back line kind of to know his
Yeah.
tendencies and everything.
Yeah. And then just the new signing Kevin Danso having a slide right in there.
Yeah, so if you're like Romero or Van de Ven, like you understand probably his tendencies, and
Mhm.
so it's just like right now, it's just without those guys, he just looks. It's just like amplified more
Yeah.
his mistakes. So
Mhm. I will say though, this game, I think Ange, he's a little bit of at fault here. Um, because that first half, like the way Tottenham was open in that midfield, the space between the midfield and the defensive line, like it was wild. Because like Bentancur and Bergvall, they'd kind of slide up as well, uh, with the front four, and then
hmm
Villa, they kind of just play around that, and then there's that whole space, and then their defenders are just retreating all the way back, and Villa just get like a shot off like so easily. And she ended up making that sub like right out right out the gate in the second half, taking Mikey Moore out. But that was like,
yeah, that sub changed the game though.
hmm. What did you think of the debuts of Asensio and Rashford?
Mm, I thought Rashford, whatever. It's kind of. I am interested to see how he improves under Unai.
Hmm.
It just looked like typical stinky Rashford, but
He had a
uh,
few like nice like link ups with Morgan Rogers.
uh, I don't know. It didn't really stick out to me. It just felt like it just was like a whatever for me.
Hmm.
Um, but Asensio, he caught my eye a little. There was that one where like he kind of backheeled it to was it Rogers maybe, but um, Telemans, and then he nutmegged
Yeah.
Archie Gray, and then they like nutmegged Archie Gray twice on the same play. But like I don't know,
Hmm.
Asensio looked pretty bright for them. I think he's gonna provide some competition for Leon Bailey.
Yeah, it's funny because this was one of the better performances from Leon Bailey after a while, and I think it's because he knows in the back of his head now that he has some competition again.
Yeah, because we were talking about him, like how he's really dropped off this year, but
Hmm.
hopefully this will spark a fire under him.
Yeah. I was also a fan of Villa's new signing at that defense, that Andres Garcia. I know this is his second game now, but he looked pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, he did. Um, that is one concern I have for Villa for Champions League is I don't think he's registered. They decided not to register him, uh, and then I think they decided not to register Daniel Malin either.
Oh, that's
But like
weird. Yeah.
Garcia's a bigger concern for me because he looks like a solid defender, but like they don't really have another right back.
Mm-mm. Because Matty Cash is out for a little bit of time, and then they got rid of that young, or not rid of him, but they loaned out that youngster Nedeljkovic. So yeah, he's really the only option.
Yeah, I mean, Mateus Tell did get the goal for Tottenham at the end, but like, I feel like that overshadowed, like, he was really kind of on lock with Garcia. Garcia locked him down.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if Tell had a bad game or he was just getting locked down.
Yeah.
So he was giving up possession quite a bit too. It felt like at times he was trying to do a little too much.
hmm
Um, you think this was a good move for Tell? I mean, I guess any move would have been good because he was so limited at Bayern, but who do you think would have suited him better, United or Tottenham? Because they were ultimately the two teams that were gonna fight for him.
Yeah, I feel like Tottenham's a better move. Both teams are shit, but at least you're in London. Um, I don't know. I think probably United would be a better fit because I think longer term he would probably want to end up at United. Um, I think Spurs, there's just a lot of trouble right now with just like that fan base is pretty poor. Like I hate how they boo Ange for everything. Um, and Ange, like if you listen to his comments, like it makes sense. Like he's very limited on his selections. He doesn't have the capacity to rotate, especially in his back line. Archie Gray was bought to play as a midfielder, but he's literally their starting center back. So like I get what he's saying with like the injuries they have, and then his team is also set up with guys who are early 20s, super young guys, and then you have the veterans, um, like Sonny, and you're asking these guys to play every single game for 90 minutes. He's like, it's just, especially his style, like they're not able to give 100%. And I thought those were some valid points. And I think that's just like a shout to Spurs ownership to like, hey, we need you guys, if you guys want to be a serious club, like you need to allow me to like, add some players, needed players.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, Spurs bench this game. Two of the slot was taken by keepers, um, in Austin and Forster, and then to your point, a lot of their other options were really defenders or midfielders that are kind of like defensive minded.
Yeah.
Um,
Then you have guys like Davies who's like 30, you have Regulon washed, like
I think during the summer they can definitely do a little bit of clearing out, um, and then start to kind of pick out players that will really suit the system or bring in younger bodies in.
yeah. But I mean, if you look at his like true signings, like Odebear, he's been out for a minute. Timo Warner, he's been in and out. Um,
Solanke's been hurt a lot.
Solanke has been in and out. I feel like Brendan Johnson was one of his key signings that he's been in and out. Like, but like these are some big names to lose. And then obviously you have your two center backs, Romero and Van de Ven. You don't really have a replacement for them. Um, and then James Madison, he was signed big money, but like I feel like they got to let him go, cut loose with him.
Yeah, because I'm
Especially,
sure. I don't know if you can look into like players' wages, but I'm sure he's one of the like highest earners too on the squad
yeah.
for not being available and kind of being lacking as well in performances.
And I think Kulisevsky, he's found a new kind of position for himself at the 10.
hmm Yeah, I don't. Even when Madison's back healthy, I don't. Kulusevski's gonna be hard to put away from that position. Um, but I think speaking of Kulusevski, I think that's a bit. If Tottenham struggle again next year, I think that's a tongue twister. Kulusevski has like more than enough talent to go to a bigger club.
Hmm.
I feel like Tottenham have to do well to hold on to him. Um,
Yeah.
and then another player, Destiny Udogie, um, he was really good, but he's been out with injury for some time.
But Adogi, I'm a fan of him, but like, dude, Jet Spence, I didn't really watch him before, but like, this is the first time ever really watching him, and I know he was like a big name at what, Nottingham, right? And
Yeah,
they
him
got
and Brennan
promoted.
Johnson were the ones. Yeah,
But like, this kid's got some, he's pretty good. He
yeah,
just
he's
kind of
really good.
surprised me.
He really took accountability once he got loaned out, kind of got his stuff together. Um, even though he prefers on that right side, but even on the
Mhm.
left, he's been playing pretty well.
So speaking of Spurs, let's move on to some games coming up. How do you feel about Spurs this weekend on Sunday in the Premier League?
I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting game. Definitely, it's definitely a must-win game for both teams. Just the form both been on, but I mean, I'll always stick to my guys and say that we can pull it out, but it can honestly go either way. Um,
And this might be a game too where Van de Ven is back because I know he was close,
Hmm.
but he got hurt slightly in practice again. But he might be potentially be back, and same with Timo Werner.
And apparently Destiny Udogie was in training as well.
Ooh,
So I think I'll be interested again to see Patrick Dorgu get. I'm sure he'll get more playing time. Um,
I
and
hope he plays on the left. That will be fun with him and Poro going at it.
exactly. And I don't know. I feel like Dallo, he'll just be a lot more comfortable on their right hand side. Like we got to take Dallo out the left.
Especially like when Amarin was in the Sporting, didn't he like his right-footed players to play on the right and the left-footed on the left?
He
And then
liked
he
the
would,
left footed on the right and then the left on the
oh,
left.
even the wingbacks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I always thought it was the other way.
But apparently we've been like during the transfer window in January, we were in talks with the guy. He got makeshifted into the right wing back, Giovanni Quenda.
Mm.
Apparently he wants to link up with Amarin again, but um like basically would said he's down to come in the summer.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I think that game will go either way, but it's gonna be that'll be a massive game.
Yeah. I think that will be a fun game. Some other games in the Premier League, we play Brighton again on Friday.
I hate when that
Another,
happens.
yeah. And then Arsenal, they'll be playing the first game on Saturday against Leicester.
You heard the big news for Arsenal
Havertz out.
for the year? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. Did he tear his
Sucks.
ACL, right?
Hamstring
Hamstring injury.
in Dubai. Training in
Oh
Dubai.
no.
Those are the
So,
worst, like season ending injuries in training sessions. That's gotta be the most devastating.
so they're 7 points back now that Liverpool tied to Everton.
Oh, that
Um,
was epic ending to I only caught the ending of that Liverpool game. Epic.
yeah, I have a lot of games to watch. I'll be up for a minute, but
It was sorry, real funny though. Michael Oliver was going crazy, just dealing out red cards at the end.
oh really?
Yeah, Arne Slot went to shake his hand and I think said like some sarcastic stuff to Michael Oliver and he said red, straight red, Arne Slot.
Oh, I'm dead. Mr.
There was a fight
Baldy.
that broke out too at the end.
Sheesh. All right.
Decore was winding up the Liverpool fans and then
The last rivalry game at Goodison Park, right?
yeah, that
Merseyside.
I don't get how Everton are building a new stadium because that's didn't they get deducted for financial reasons like last year?
Yeah. But I mean, this project's been going on for a minute, but that's one of the reasons that
Oh,
they were in financial
okay.
trouble.
Gotcha.
Um, but their new stadium is about to be sick, dude.
Hmm.
Like, you know, the environment at Newcastle where like the stands are kind of on top of the field. That's
Yeah.
exactly how good the new Everton stadium's gonna be. And it's
I'm
gonna
sure
be,
there's like YouTube videos. I'll have to like check out
oh, the
when it's
renderings, dude,
playing.
it's gonna look sick.
Oh,
And
for
then
real?
even right outside the stadium, it looks
Mhm.
beautiful.
Oh,
But
dang. Yeah, I'll
it's gonna
definitely
be
have to check it
epic.
out.
They put in a lot of money into it. I don't know if they probably should have used that towards their players, but
Hmm. Hey, David Moyes though, he's getting the best out of them.
oh yeah, they've been on a good run under him.
Hmm.
Tie with Liverpool, uh, beating Leicester, beating Brighton, beating Tottenham. So nice little run here. They're kind of right behind you guys now, 2 points behind United
Yeah.
and Spurs. And then Arsenal, like we said, is 7 points behind. And then we have Villa versus Ipswich. Villa's still kind of on the edge of that top four spot there. Ipswich trying to get out of relegation battle. You have Tottenham or Fulham versus Nottingham. And then the big one of the day, I think, will be City, Newcastle. Both these teams are also trying to fight for that top four spot, 2 points outside. Then you got Bournemouth, Southampton. That's a free dub, free W's. Brentford, West Ham, Palace, Everton. And then Sunday. your boys play Tottenham, and then we have Wolves versus Liverpool at Anfield. I'm curious who all got the red today, and if that kind of affects any players for that game.
Yeah, it's because it was a second yellow
Oh, okay.
fight. So I assume it still gets taken into account for the game where they get like a one match ban.
Was it let me guess the player. Was it Van Dyke?
Nah,
Robertson? Robertson's a wind up guy.
n nah. He got subbed
Oh,
off.
wow. He
Um,
got subbed off.
yeah. Is a proper Scouser though.
Trent?
Nah.
Curtis?
Yeah.
Oh, Curtis Jones. Wow, I don't see him getting wind up.
Oh, you need to watch his YouTube video when he was in the England, I think U21s proper fist fight
Okay. Um, and then do you have other games that you want to give a shout out to for the weekend that
around the league.
viewers should, yeah.
Um, Geez, that 12 o'clock window is going to be crazy around the league because 12 o'clock we got Lazio versus Napoli in Serie A, and then Bundesliga we got Leverkusen versus Bayern Munich.
Ooh.
So Leverkusen they're 8 points behind Bayern Munich, um, and then Lazio they are 10
They're
points
like, yeah.
below Napoli.
Yeah, that's a big one for Napoli, especially with that title race pretty close.
Big one for
Uh,
Bayern Munich too. Hopefully, Harry, this is the year finally Harry Kane's trophy curse is broken.
yeah, if they beat Leverkusen, I think they might run away with it. They'll be
Yeah.
9 points ahead. And then, yeah, going back to Saturday, also, you have to give a shout out to the boys, Marseille.
Oh yeah. How do I miss the Marseille? Shout out Marseille boys taking on Saint Etienne.
Bro, one of the most entertaining teams in the world. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no cap. Super entertaining.
Rabiot at the forward row is insane. I
Yeah,
did
that's
not,
diabolical.
I never saw that in him. I was like, bro's got some pace. What? He used to just walk around, jog around the field.
hmm Um, and then Sunday, 3 o'clock, Real Betis takes on Real Sociedad. We'll see if
Ooh,
Anthony can get his third man of the match in a row.
keep
Um,
an eye out for Kubo there. It's my boy. That's a player y'all need to sign.
you've been talking about that man forever. Um,
Y'all need to sign that man.
I
He's
don't know much
different
about
sauce.
him. I know
Bro,
I
he's like a
swore he played
mod.
like a winger role.
Dude, he can play everything. He's kind of like Ahmad Diallo.
Hmm.
He can do it all. Um, and the crazy thing is like his he's still pretty young player, but like he has a lot of experience.
Yeah, I'll have to watch some highlights because I know you're a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
Um,
He's only 23. He's been playing in La Liga forever.
oh shoot, 23.
Hmm.
There were reports out today that apparently we're trying to go after Simone again.
Didn't
Uh,
he just sign a long-term deal
yeah,
with?
even though he just signed a long term with Leipzig. So I don't know. That would be expensive.
Yeah. I don't know if that's like a priority though for y'all.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, and then Sunday also there's another big Serie A matchup. Juventus taking on Inter Milan at 2:45.
Ooh. Juventus, they're riding off the Champions League. They've struggled in Serie A. So we'll see if a big fixture can get them back on track.
It's funny that Lloyd Kelly actually started. Um,
Yeah, they're in need. I think they put uh Weah at right back again against in the Champions League
yeah,
against
they
PSG.
yeah, I don't know, like it's funny because like Juventus fans, a lot of them are like split on Thiago Motta because I know he was like a they had a lot of high hopes for him, and they're sitting in fifth, and they're only like a few points above Bologna, the former team he managed. So
Hmm.
I don't know, Juventus fans, some are like getting impatient with him, but I feel like you always got to give new managers time.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the issue with like the big clubs, like fans they're not used to this
yeah, exactly.
like a project.
So I'm sure we'll recap on these Premier League games, and then, like we mentioned, Champions League again returns midweek on Tuesday and Wednesday. Um, and then their Europa League as well as the Conference League. The round of 32 is tomorrow. So, um, yeah, with that, thank you all for listening to another episode of Super Subs. Until next time, peace out.
Peace.